It's a Gavitt Games Week edition of Big East Shootaround, and we are coming to you from the Prudential Center, where it will be rocking tonight as the reigning Big Ten tournament champion Iowa Hawkeyes come to Newark, New Jersey to meet the Seton Hall Pirates in the first test for the Hall of the Shaheen Holloway era. John Fanta here with you from The Rock, giving you all the latest in Big East hoops. Coming up on tonight's show, we've got CBSSports.com insider Matt Norlander with his latest thoughts across Big East basketball. Is he buying or selling the Connecticut Huskies? What about the St. John's Red Storm? Those answers and more to come. Plus, I sit down with Sean Miller. We go inside his Pitt playing days in the Big East Conference and what it's like to come home to Xavier, where he feels exactly that, right at home. We'll talk with him in a little bit. But we get to our headlines, and we begin tonight with the Hawkeyes and the Pirates. Coming up, 7:30 Eastern Time on FS1. Tim Brando and Donnie Marshall will have it for you from Newark, as the Pirates are a defensively oriented team. It's what they're going to have to be successful this season. And that will not be tested more than it will be tonight, because the Hawkeyes, folks, are the nation's third most efficient offensive team, according to Ken Pomeroy. Fran McCaffrey has long been known for efficiency, for generating high-quality shots. And while the Hawkeyes lose a top-5 NBA draft pick in Keegan Murray, it's his twin brother, Chris, who is ready to lead Iowa, an elite wing. Now, he will meet an experienced, versatile Swiss Army knife of a defender in Casey Nadefo, the St. Peter's transfer, who really sets the tone for Seton Hall, a top 25 KenPom adjusted defensive efficiency team. For the Hall tonight, it's about how they guard and can they turn defense into offense, because Shaheen Holloway has stressed it. He's still trying to figure out what his team is on the offensive end of the floor. And for the Hall, they need Alamir Dawes, the Clemson transfer, a Newark native, to step up. They need Tyrese Samuel, a seasoned veteran, to be able to deliver, and they've got to find some perimeter shooting from different sources. But more than anything, this is elite offense of Iowa against hard-nosed New Jersey defense of Seton Hall. It will be very interesting to see how this matchup plays out in a little bit. Headline number 2, the Big East, their win in the Gavitt Games thus far, trying to get back on track tonight, but the one win comes from Tony Stubblefield's DePaul Blue Demons. The Blue Demons going to Minnesota and beating the Gophers by double digits on Monday evening. DePaul at 3-0 on the campaign. They've won 5 consecutive matchups with Big Ten opponents. And how did they do it on Monday? They did it with defense, holding Minnesota to 53, and they did it with a 23-year-old. Javen Johnson is a dude. He has put up 54 points through the first 3 games of the season. Tony Stubblefield says he's a veteran presence. He makes things happen for the Blue Demons, and he is a guy who's been around the block. He flies under the radar, America, because he only played in 10 games last season, was dealing with injuries. Now he's healthy, and he and Errol Penn, an LIU transfer, were big time in DePaul's win at Minnesota. For the Blue Demons, they've shown us this in non-conference before. They beat Rutgers a year ago in the Gavitt Games. Will they be able to prove it once the calendar rolls to January or February? That will be the big question. But they are a factor here, and that's a good result for them to stay unbeaten on the early season. Headline number 3. All eyes on Friday night. It's as big of a doubleheader, folks, that you've seen in the first 2 weeks of the college basketball season, when Xavier hosts Indiana at the Cintas Center at 6 Eastern Time, FS1. That'll be followed by a battle of blue bloods. The Villanova Wildcats visiting the Michigan State Spartans in East Lansing. You think about Villanova, a week removed, this will be on Friday night, from losing at Temple. How do they respond in this game? Caleb Daniels, Brandon Slater, and Eric Dixon have got to step up. And for the Wildcats, they're going to have to grind it out with Michigan State, who's coming off a statement win over Kentucky. Joey Hauser, you got to put a body on him, and you got to make sure Malik Call doesn't get loose, or else they will make you pay. So for Villanova, defensively, they've got to be aligned, and they got to find enough. They need Daniels to be their alpha in this game. As for Xavier, what a stage Friday is. The Cintas Center will have a sellout crowd in Cincinnati. as Indiana, the Big Ten frontrunner, Trace Jackson-Davis and Race Thompson on one side in the front court, Zach Freemantle, who's coming off a triple-double performance against Fairfield, and Jack Nunge on the other side. Colby Jones' status is vital to this game. He missed the Fairfield game on Tuesday night with a sprained ankle. They're hopeful he can play. That's big in this matchup if Xavier is going to pull out what would be a huge win over the Hoosiers. But for Xavier, can they win the Big East title? Can they be the big challenger to Creighton? Friday night is a chance to show America that they, in fact, will be right near the top of the Big East race this season. We'll see how they perform. If you remember last year, they took down Ohio State in the Cintas Center in the Gavitt games. We got a feature on the Musketeers head coach. I sat down with Sean Miller. Here's more.
Well, the emotions being here at Xavier, range from being very grateful for the opportunity. This is a place that's always been very special to me. Some of my best moments, my family's, happiest times in our lives, some of them, most of them, a lot of them, happened while our young family was growing up in Cincinnati and I was coaching here the first time. The players that are from my generation that played in the Big East, we have like this unreal bond. We all share in one thing when it comes to the Big East, and that is the toughness quotient. There was a toughness on every team, through every head coach, that was not fake. First Big East game I ever played in was at the Cap Center, Pitt at Georgetown. I'll never forget that feeling like during that game, like, oh my God, this is some serious stuff. It's a game, but the winner's circle seemed to be for the team that was just tougher. So when I think about returning to the Big East, trust me when I tell you that no one has to remind me the physical toughness of this conference. I think it stands out. I think we want to have an identity that, we're good on both sides of the ball. The teams that can win on the road, win against different styles, win in March, which is the name of the game in our sport. You have to be good at both. You have to have games where, you win because you score. You have to have games where you win because, in spite of your offense, your defense was good enough to give you that chance to win. My hope is that you see a group, a team that's really committed to playing for Xavier. That really is playing to win. Making the NCAA tournament, because we haven't made the NCAA tournament here at Xavier in 4 years, I think something that maybe at one point was taken for granted, and understandably so, right? Like 16 of 18 years you're in the tournament, you can say that's what we're supposed to do. But all of a sudden when you're not in it, that's when you realize, like, wow, that's really special just to make the tournament. It's so hard just to enter it, right? You gotta be a group of guys committed to that one thing, and that is winning, making the tournament, right? That's the expectation, and everything we do on a daily basis points towards that together goal of doing that.
We thank Sean Miller for the time. Musketeers hosting Indiana Friday, 6 Eastern time on FS1. What a matchup that is going to be. Let's turn to asking the expert. We talked with Matt Norlander from CBS Sports to get his thoughts on the Gavitt tip-off games and other headlines across the Big East. Here's that conversation. Let's welcome in senior writer, analyst, podcaster for CBS Sports. It's our friend Matt Norlander with us on Big East Shootaround. Matt, tonight, the reigning Big Ten champion Iowa Hawkeyes visit the Seton Hall Pirates in Shaheen Holloway's first major test as the Hall's leader. What are you looking for in this matchup?
You know what? This is obviously the second biggest game of the night on the college hoop schedule there, so it's not going to get as much shine as Zag's Longhorns, but there's no shortage of intrigue with this one. Seton Hall, they're 2-0 and they've had two runaway wins. You got through Monmouth, and then you had the big St. Peter's reunion, and that was obviously a blowout win for Holloway and his crew here. But now with Iowa coming in, these are both top 40 KenPom teams. both programs. Well, I was projected to be higher, I guess, in the overall hierarchy of the Big Ten than Seton Hall, but neither of these schools are, at least by pundits, expected to be, top 4 in their respective leagues. So we'll see. I mean, last year the St. Peter's team was able to get the job done under Holloway with defense, and obviously that he wants that to be the MO this season as well. Fanta, we'll just see. I mean, there's so many new pieces here, and I remember talking with Shaheen at Big East Media Day, and he expects this to be, and he embraces it, but he expects this to be a pretty formidable project this season. But the one thing that he was most excited about was to finally get to the games, and almost felt like he had this blessed off season, but there were so many on the court things that came along with becoming the Seton Hall coach, being a Seton Hall alum, obviously, and he knows the program so well there. I think he's like, him and that staff are just embracing finally getting to these games. Iowa, if you can shut down Chris Murray, then you're going to have a real chance there. Patrick McCaffrey's a really, really good shooter, obviously, as well. Philip Rebraca is a big inside that I actually think might give Seton Hall some fits here. This one feels like a toss-up to me. Like, I don't know. I think it's projected to be a 1 or 2 point game overall. Different styles of teams, offense versus defense. I'm looking forward to seeing, because I honestly don't, Fanta, I don't know if either of these teams will be in the NCAA tournament when we get to March. Both of them could be, but both of them might not be too.
That's what makes the Gavitt games really interesting, because it gives you a momentum launcher opportunity ahead of feast weeks. All right, rapid fire here to close.
Okay.
Buy or sell Connecticut?
Oh, buy, and I'll steal a term from our buddy Seth Davis. It might be a buy plus eventually. I just have to see when Andre Jackson, who's going to play in Portland, once he's back on the floor, just how good he is at running the point. If they need him to, because Tristan Newton, I understand it was a mid-major Buffalo. Tristan Newton just had like the 4th triple-double for UConn in the past 13 years. Big-time plot development there. Definitely buying UConn.
Buy or sell St. John's?
I'm not bailing on St. John's. I picked St. John's to make the NCAA tournament and be the 5th Big East team to get to the dance. We're early on. St. John's is 3-0. They haven't played anyone of note. They've got a home game against Nebraska on Thursday. I am buying St. John's, like going to Dayton and being a first 4 team.
Creighton in the Maui Invitational. They'll take on Texas Tech first. Any thought process on where the Jays stand and what you think of them in this event? Their expectation, where they're at, is, of course, to win the Maui Invitational. It's a hard field. Where do you stand with them?
The Maui Invitational field is outrageous, dude. If it was strictly, I know this wasn't your question, but if it was strictly like buy Creighton and win the Maui, I will sell that, because the field is just too good. I mean, you open with Texas Tech. That's a losable game. Then if you lose that, you'll play Louisville. Louisville will play Arkansas. That's a winnable game, but that's what you don't want. If you're Creighton, you don't want to lose to Tech and then get Louisville in a win that, first of all, the loss just torpedoes your early resume. A win does almost nothing there, and then you would face one of Ohio State, San Diego State, Cincinnati, Arizona on the other side. Maui is, PK 85 is the best event. Maui it's not sneaky good because it's Maui. It's always good, but I don't know if everyone quite realizes the fact that there's going to be probably at least 6 NCAA tournament teams in this bracket, and the ones that won't dance will be Louisville and then like maybe Cincinnati. We'll see about Ohio State as well. Creighton's got a healthy shot, but it's a tough ask being put on the same side as a Texas Tech team that's good defensively. Arkansas, could have 2 of the 6 or 7 best freshmen in America. San Diego State could be a top 3 defensive unit in the country. Can't forget about Arizona. So I'm intrigued to watch that. A quick side commentary. I know this is rapid fire, Fanta. The one benefit here to like the fact that the opening week of the season, it just wasn't great, right? We had the game on the aircraft carrier, but just a lot of just whatever, right? And then Tuesday night was awesome. We are getting this cram now. We are getting the Gavitt games this week, and then we turn around and bada bing, bada bang, bada boom. We've got Maui, we've got Bahamas, we've got the Phil Knight Invitational 16 teams. So we are actually getting like us just complete buffet stuffing of all these great games. And for a college hoops fan, that's a big time thing.
I like the way you're talking. You end with stuffing. That's the way to close it out. Matt Norlander is stuffing you on CBSSports.com with college basketball tidbits, news, notes. The Eye on College Basketball podcast with Gary Parrish is also a must. listen. Matt, I'm off to Newark. I'll be texting you from the Brick City tonight. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, Fanta. Talk soon.
Oh, we thank Matt Norlander for the time. You can check him out at cbssports.com. It's time to open the Shootaround mailbox. Let's do it. We got a lot of questions, and we're going to start strong with a great Twitter account name. Please be good again is a DePaul fan, and they want to be good again. And, hey, your team's off to a 3-0 start. The question is quite simple. John, DePaul, discuss. Okay, I'll discuss them. Look, defense has to be the priority for this team. Javen Johnson and Errol Penn, that was a nice performance against Minnesota, and Umoja Gibson can fill it up. Gibson is an Oklahoma transfer. He is in the gym for Tony Stubblefield every single day at 7 a.m. getting shots up. He's a guy that can score in bursts. Not necessarily Javon Freeman-Liberty, but I think the way that he can rack up buckets together, string those together, that's big for DePaul. I think Nick Ongenda's presence when he's fully healthy is going to be important for this team. Yora Ney is a guy that now has more experience. His length can impact the game. The point, DePaul's got options. They've got different options. Jalen Terry's been around the block with Tony Stubblefield coming from Oregon. I think there's depth to this team. I think there's a chemistry in this team. And if they could defend the way they did against Minnesota, only allowing 53 points, that's a really good sign. Thanks for the question. To please be good again. Number 2, Andrew Arndt asks, what coach specifically in the Big East has done the best job so far in your opinion? I've thought about this. I actually am going to go with a twist here. I'm going to go out to Marquette. Shaka Smart. Here's why. I know they lost last night to Purdue in a tough road game. And Zach Edey was Zach Edey. He had a great game. And Marquette, they'll have some trouble with size. But Cam Jones and Tyler Kolek are one of the most underrated backcourts in college basketball. And David Joplin can really stretch the floor. Joplin is the X factor of this team. He's a guy that's filling in for what Justin Lewis was to the equation. I think Marquette could win the Fort Myers Classic early next week on FS1. To me, it's a manageable field for them. They've got Utah, Mississippi State, and Georgia Tech. I think it's doable for them to come out with a Feast Week title. And remember last year when they made their Charleston Classic run? I think they could be a Thanksgiving week storyline team. And I think that Marquette, the way that they're coached, the way that Shaka has gone about in developing his players, look out for them. He's doing a nice job there, and they might have lost at Purdue, but they only lost by 5. That's a loss that really doesn't hurt Marquette resume-wise. It will help them. It will help them in the long run. So I side with Shaka Smart, and I've been impressed with the guy that you'll see tonight on FS1, Shaheen Holloway. You know why? His team's bought in defensively. Like, you're not going to out-tough Seton Hall. They play fit to Newark, New Jersey. Hard-nosed. They get after you. It's called the Brick City for a reason, and Seton Hall's going to force some teams into bricks this year. All right, Josh Freerks caps us off here at the mailbox. Which Big East frosh has impressed you the most so far? I'm going to Storrs. Big East Freshman of the Week. Alex Caraban is someone who can do a little bit of everything for the Connecticut Huskies. He's a guy that came into the program for the second semester last year. I love a freshman who enrolls early. You know why? They're ready. They're ready for the transition to college basketball. They're hungry to get on the floor, and they know the system. Alex Caraban has high IQ. He makes things happen defensively, gets his fingerprints all over things defensively, and on the offensive end of the floor, he can stretch it, and he can attack the rim. Alex Caraban is not your typical freshman. There's a reason why he's the Big East Freshman of the Week. More of those honors to come, and Connecticut is one of 2 Big East teams ranked in the top 25, with Creighton in the top 10 and UConn 25th. And for the Huskies, things really ramp up next week when they meet Oregon on Thanksgiving Day. One of 3 teams in the PK 85 in honor of Phil Knight's birthday, with Villanova and Xavier in that field as well. Nova gets Iowa State. Xavier gets Florida. It's all part of an active feast week. Seton Hall's going to take on Memphis. Penny Hardaway, versus Shaheen Holloway should be a lot of fun. And we'll be previewing all that and more next week on Big East Shootaround. So stay tuned to @BigEastMBB, #BigEastHoops. Thanks for all your questions in the mailbox. And the Gavitt games get going coming up 7:30 Eastern Time, FS1 with the Hall and the Hawkeyes. Is it heaven? Is it Iowa? No, it's Newark. St. John's in Nebraska tomorrow night, and then Xavier, Indiana, followed by Villanova, Michigan State on Friday. Enjoy your night, Big East Hoops fans, as the Hall tries to make a statement. For now, I'm John Fanta. Thanks for watching Shoot Around.